Carrie Pasquarello is the CEO and co-founder of Global Secure Resources, Inc. She is a victim advocate who took her overseas experience with the State Department and turned it into a platform to help others navigate safety. Carrie manages the development of security standards, emergency action plans, safety protocols, and crisis intervention strategies for use by businesses, nonprofit organizations, and individual consumers. Carrie directs the analytical preparation of the Individual Threat Assessment Plan and state student abroad assessments. She was invited to the White House to discuss safety and is a fierce advocate for legislation protecting travelers and consumers. Let's welcome Carrie.
Hello and welcome. How are you all today? This is fantastic. How many of you guys joined me last year for the travel safety presentation? A few of you. Oh, so happy that you're back. Now, you guys have heard a little bit about my background, but one of the things that I love to do is keep people safe no matter where they go, whether it's at home, whether it's at work, and when it's traveling. And so when I get an opportunity to do community awareness and prevention programs, this is my area of expertise because I want you guys to be safe no matter where you are. So I'm so happy when I get the opportunity to collaborate with other organizations that focus on safety, and NEST is one of those organizations, so I just want to say thank you so much for bringing such great content to the people of St. James and Southport in this area. So one of the interesting things that we find is scams are around us all the time. And one of the most important things we can do is really learn about how we can avoid being scammed, avoid being victimized. And so today, we're going to cover the 4 signs it's a scam. We're going to cover top scams you should know about, and I bet some of you have experienced some of these scams. We're also going to look at techniques and tactics that scammers are using every single day. We're going to follow up with some ways to keep ourselves safer at home, at work, and when we're traveling. And also, we're going to follow up with some great resources. So let's get started. I always say you have to know the risk to avoid the risk. Now, the risk is gigantic. In the last 5 years, we have lost $37 billion. And what's interesting about this figure is if we go back to 2019, we were about $3.5 billion in loss. And every single year, it continues to go up. This statistic for our 2023, we've reached over $12 billion of losses. This is outrageous, and this is why it's so important. I always say, once again, you have to know the risk to avoid the risk. This is the risk. This is a risk that's growing every single year. One of my favorite statistics that I go to is the IC3 FBI report, and if anybody is interested, they should definitely Google the FBI's IC3 report, download it, and read about all the different scams that are happening in our society, in America, in the world. And if we talk about the world, we're in the trillions of dollars that are being lost. So one of the best ways to prevent victimization and to fight back is with awareness. It's with awareness programs. It's about researching and really doing your due diligence whenever you're doing anything financial. Now, I'm sure some of you guys recognize these individuals up here. And we'll talk about Bernie Madoff. Now, Bernie Madoff scammed over 40,000 people from over 125 countries. His losses were up about $65 billion that he took from individuals. If we look at FTX, does everybody know who FTX is? This individual scammed people out of billions of dollars. In fact, his investors were about 1.5, and his customers were up to $8 billion of loss. And then, of course, we have Elizabeth Holmes. Now, she was the CEO and founder of Theranos, and she scammed people out of $700 million. Now, each of these scammers had some things that were in common. One, they took the money that they took from other people and spent it on their lavish lifestyles. They were buying cars, houses, vacations, jewelry. It wasn't their money. They just got to spread it around. They were buying all sorts of things. Another interesting thing was they were highlighted in publications, giving them additional credibility, which was really unfortunate. If you look at FTX, they said he was going to be the new Warren Buffett. That's outrageous. Elizabeth Holmes, they said she was the youngest self-made billionaire woman. And so they were highlighting her. They were elevating her. And the last thing that they all had in common was they all went to jail. Now, that is a great thing, but I have to tell you, the majority of scammers out there do not see a jail cell because they're behind their computers. They're in another country. And if I asked you all to envision what a scammer looks like, what would you say? Anybody want to share what they think a scammer would look like or what they're... Okay, maybe some of you might think he's just a person behind a screen. He has a cell phone. He's in a basement. But in reality, unfortunately, we have criminal organizations that are taking, let's say, we take the building over at Walmart's in Southport. Envision that. Take everything out of that Walmart's and put nothing but tables with computers and cell phones and load it with human trafficked individuals who are in forced labor. And they're sitting in front of that desk, in front of that computer, hour after hour after hour. And if they do not make the scam money, a certain amount every single day, they might not eat. They might be beaten. That's a criminal organization. And when you think of that $37 billion, that's why it's possible, because it's organized crime. And so we have to look at these people, and it always brings me to my favorite person, which is Warren Buffett. And Warren Buffett is a fantastic financier. He is a billionaire. He is so wonderful, but he has two rules that served him very well, and he shares with others. The first rule is don't lose the money. And does anybody know what the second rule is? Anybody? Review rule number one, do not lose the money. So he is all for scam prevention. He doesn't want anybody to lose the money. So today, we're going to talk about this couple. I always like to pick a story that I think will be relevant for the organization that I'm speaking with. And this is Kyle and Michelle Anderson. They're a fabulous couple. They're 2 weeks from retirement when this happened. 2 weeks away from his retirement. And she was a wonderful, savvy, well-educated woman. She was a wonderful wife. She was a great mother, and she was a grandma. And this particular day, she was watching her grandchildren. She just had dropped them off, and she walked in to her house, and she noticed that she had a bunch of calls from the IRS. The message was her Social Security number was compromised. It was important that she return this call ASAP to the IRS. So she did. She dialed up that number. And the IRS agent that answered knew exactly who she was. And he said, listen, write down my name and my title. And I want you to Google my name so you know exactly who you're speaking to. And that's what she did. She opened up her computer, put his name in, and there he was, the IRS agent. He went on to tell her that a car registered in her name was found at a bloody crime scene in Texas near the Mexican border. She was shocked. She couldn't believe this. He next told her that her Social Security number had been used to open up various bank accounts, and the cartel was using them to launder money. He said, I'm sorry, I can't talk with you anymore. This is a criminal matter. I'm going to have to transfer you over to the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Administration. It's a criminal situation, I can't help you anymore. I'll transfer the call. And that's exactly what he did. And Michelle was so happy he transferred it. She was literally shaking. She didn't even think she would be able to dial a telephone number. She was so upset. And at this point, a DEA answered the phone when it was transferred. And he knew who she was. And he said to her, write my name down, write my badge number down. And I want you to Google it because I want you to know this is an authentic call, and you know exactly who you're speaking to. And so she did. She wrote his number down. She Googled him. There he was. He was the agent in charge of the office in Texas. He started to tell her that her family was in grave danger. Her husband was at risk. Her family finance was at risk. The drug cartel had been monitoring them, had been watching them. But in addition to that, the government was watching them. And the government had decided they were going to seize all of her money. And he said to her, listen, there's only two ways we can proceed. The first way, you're going to cooperate. We'll move your money to a safe DEA account, and then we'll go after the criminals. The second way, you will be arrested. You will be charged along with the co-conspirators, these drug cartels, and you will lose all of your money. At this point, he sends her an arrest warrant. This arrest warrant, she opens it up, and there it is, her name, her date of birth, her address, her social security number, all of this vital information. Also, under previous criminal records, it said no. And she was like, oh, that's true. I've never done anything wrong in my life. This is horrible. She quickly decided she's going to go the first way. She's going to cooperate. She wants to save her husband. And that's what he said to her. He said, if you want to save your husband, you'll go the first way. And that's what she did. She said, what do I do now? He said, first things first, you're going to cooperate. Now we got to move your money. You have to get in the car, drive to the bank, take all of your assets, all of your money, and put them in a checking account. And from there, you're going to wire it to a safe account. Okay, so she jumps in her car. She's driving. He's still on the phone. He preps her. He says, you know what? When you get there and you start moving all that money into that other account, the teller's probably going to ask you, why are you sending this money? Now, remember, it's a secret operation. Nobody can know, not your husband, not your family, not the bank teller. You have to tell them that it's for electronics. And so sure enough, she goes in there. She walks up to the counter. She gets all of her money, puts it all in her checking account, wires it out. The bank teller asks her, what are you doing with this money? She says, I'm buying electronics. Done. Her money's safe. She feels sick to her stomach. She's stressed. She's walking out. She's still talking to the DEA agent. And he says, you know what? You did a great job. Your money is now safe. The government has it. You're really lucky. Now listen, I'm going to hang up the phone, and I'm going to call you back with next steps, he says. And sure enough, she gets in the car. She's driving home. She's not even to her house yet when the phone rings again. And it gets worse. It gets worse because he says, the government is going to seize your house. It's going to be a fast deal. We have to secure 50% of the worth of your house in a special account. And she's like, what? How am I going to get this money? I just gave you all of the money. It's in the safe account. You told me I can't tell my husband. I can't tell my friends. Where am I going to get this? He said, you know what? You'll have to figure that out. If you want to save your house, you're going to have to find the money. Now let's talk about the money. How much is your house worth? About $400,000. Is it owned free and clear? Yes, it is. You need $200,000. She's like, oh my God, what am I going to do? So she starts thinking, who can I ask? There was one person she could ask. This one person, she calls him up and she says, I have to ask you something. I need to borrow $200,000 I can't tell you what it's for. You can't tell your wife. You can't tell my husband. And it's a life or death situation. He's like, oh my God. Well, let me just, try to figure this out. I'll call you back. And so he does. He calls her back and he says, I have $60,000 I can give you right now. I can get the rest tomorrow. But I have to ask you a question. Are you being scammed? And she's thinking, no, I'm not being scammed. I'm talking with the IRS. I'm talking with the DEA. This is a secret operation. Of course not. But as she hangs up that phone, she gets out her computer and she starts to type. DEASCAM. She instantly knew. She had just given all of her life savings, their retirement, and everything to a scammer. Poof, it was gone. Now, Michelle and Kyle Anderson, they called the FBI, they called the IRS, they called the DEA, they called the FTC. All very helpful, but her money's gone. It's gone. And now she shares her story with others. She wants her story shared in hopes of protecting one other family from the government impersonation scam. And now you guys know. And what's sad about this is last year we had over 100,000 people over 60 years old that lost more than $3.4 billion in these types of scams. And that is certainly heartbreaking. This is the arrest warrant that was sent to her. And as you can see right here, there's all her vital information right here. But she didn't know a few red flags about arrest warrants. And I know we have some FBI agents in the room right now, and I know they would agree that the Supreme Court does not send arrest warrants. John Roberts does not issue arrest warrants. And unfortunately, she didn't know. And this is why I say you always have to know the risk to avoid the risk. Whenever there's an important document that is given to you, you have to do your due diligence. You have to look it up. You have to find out what exactly is happening and if it's a scam. So talking about that, I wanted to ask a question. Has anybody seen this press release? Not one person? Now that's typical. Every single time I give a scam talk and I talk about this specific story, I always ask, and not one single person has ever told me they saw this. That's the problem. Because when we have organizations, government organizations, or any other gigantic organization that has a lot of scams, they'll issue a press release. They'll give a press release. But if you don't read it, then you don't know of this scam. And unfortunately, Michelle Anderson never read this. Had she would have been up to date on some of the simple scams that were happening that were so devastating to so many people. So, what are we going to do? We're going to look at the 4 signs it's a scam. And here they are. If you could just remember these 4 signs every single time you open an email and every time you answer the telephone, you're going to be one step ahead of the scammers. And it's pressure, it's motion, it's paying and keeping a secret. Now, the situation with each of these red flags, these key indicators, they were used on Michelle. On Michelle, it was an urgency, pressure for her to return a phone call. It was the emotion. She had shock, disbelief, fear. She felt sick. There was a lot of things going on with her scam. And of course, paying. It always has to do with paying. That's why they have $37 billion for the last 5 years. And last, if anybody ever tells you to keep a secret, that's a key indicator to tell somebody else. Absolutely. So poor Michelle, she had each and every one of the top red flags that it was a scam. Now, we're going to talk about the top scams you should know. Now, there's a number of them, and we'll get to them, but first I want to ask, how many of you have set up fraud alerts on your accounts? Fraud alerts, fraud alerts. Fraud alerts on your credit cards, on your banking? Okay. My suggestion is you all do it, okay? And I'll tell you why. And of course, I have fraud alerts on my accounts. And one day, I got a text message, and it said, my Quicken Loan mortgage payment of $1,900 cleared. And I'm like, I don't have a Quicken Loans mortgage payment. But I called my husband. I said, hon, we don't have a Quicken Loans, right? And he's like, no, we don't. I said, okay, great. So I got to work. I called the fraud department of my bank. And we started working so fast that we were literally able to pull that money back from Quicken Loans. So the scammer never got the money. That's my goal. Never let the scammer get the money. Because had I not had these alerts on my bank, I would have missed it. I would have got my statement at the end of the month. I would have looked, and then I would have found it. Then I would have called my bank. They would have given me back my money. But you know what? The scammer would have got the money too. And we don't want to give one dime to any scammers. We have to stop this. And the only way we can do this is by taking the lead. We are the first line of defense when it comes to scams and protecting our finances, protecting our family and our friends. So let's look at these. Now, when I say you got to know the risk to avoid the risk, once again, here we are in North Carolina. We're ranked number 13 with losses in 2023 of $234 million. That's about $20 million a month. That's outrageous. And when we start to talk about the tech scams, we're going to talk about grandparents, romance scams, and of course the government impersonation scams. But look at tech scams. They're almost $1 billion of loss last year. That's outrageous. Scams are a lucrative industry. And once again, when you think back to the forced labor, this is why they're getting these types of numbers. We have to make sure that we're interrupting this and making sure that we understand the damage that is being done, the individuals that are losing all their retirement. And if we look at that and we identify that a higher percentage of these scams are done to people over 60 years old, you might wonder why. Why is that? And it's because we've had our whole life to accumulate our wealth. And the scammers know that. So when they're looking, they're not really looking for a 22-year-old. They might get a couple hundred, a couple thousand, who knows what. No, they are going after the big fish. They want the people that have the nice retirement plans, that they're not very savvy, they might not know about scams, and they're easily manipulated. The only way we can change that is with awareness. And you guys can be savvy with all of your finance and everything that you're doing with the tech support scams. The grandparent scams, romance scams, still same. The majority are over 60. And then, of course, impersonation, government impersonation, which are rampant. So let's talk about this. This is an email that somebody got. They sent it to me, and they said, oh, my God, I'm supposed to pay $333.77. I had already it was already cleared, and I only have 24 hours to get that money back. And I said, scam. And how can we tell it's a scam? Well, right here, my first suggestion is you go to the email address. It's not from the Geek Squad. It's from a Gmail. Anytime you look at the email address, that's the first thing I do. Every single email I open, I go straight to the email address and check it out. Next, I looked at their email address. Look, they only have 4 numbers for their zip code. And then there's, grabber errors, and then, of course, the urgency. They're always asking you to do something fast. So that's how they try to trick people into doing what they want them to do. And then if we go over here and look at some of the red flags that we should know, these pop-up warnings that happen are really a serious thing. And oftentimes people panic. And this type of warning will come up after you visit a website that might have some malware in it. And it'll push a new page onto your computer. Sometimes it's like the blue screen of death. But what happens is this will take up your whole computer, and it will be blasting noises. It'll be blasting lights. It wants to panic you. It wants you to panic and call their number. That 1-800 number, boy, can they help you lose money is what they'll help you do. And so unfortunately, people don't know the secret. The secret is, if this ever happens to you, you take a deep breath. You hard quit your computer, you step away, have a cup of tea, come back, turn on your computer, it'll be gone. That happens in 99% of the time. There's a very small percentage, it's malware. The majority of this will take care of it. And then just go back and go through your security settings for your computer. Very important to know that, because so many people, once again, we look at the $1 billion that was lost last year, and this is working. This works every single day, and the scammers know that. So we have to be ready for that. And my question to you all, have you ever hard quit your computer? You know how to do that? You just put your finger on the power button, hold it down until it turns off. It's all you have to do. Very simple, but we have to know these strategies. You have to know the strategies, tools, and techniques to avoid scammers. And also, I want to note that sometimes when you're Googling something, if something does happen, you're like, oh my gosh, I need some tech support, I'm going to just Google it. The first page of Google results oftentimes have organizations that have malware in it. So then they're fooling you. They might say, oh, click here for Bank of America. But it's a faulty ad that was put in, and it's at the highest returns with Google. Now, why is that? Because they are earning $37 billion. They can pay big bucks to get ads for their fraudulent companies. And as soon as one's found, they might take them off, but then another one pops up. So we have to always realize we have to be skeptical with our internet, with where we're going, just to stay safe. Now, grandparent scams. How many of you have heard about somebody having a grandparent scam? Yes. This happens all the time, and it's very lucrative. But what's going to happen is they're going to call. It's going to be a younger voice, and they're going to say, Grandma or Grandpa, I'm in jail, I'm in the hospital, I'm in a foreign country, whatever it may be, and they need help. Now, the key is they're going to add a couple of things. They're going to say, first, shh, it's a secret. Don't tell anybody. Don't tell Mom. Don't tell Dad. They're going to be so mad. And then they're going to pass off the phone to the closer. Now, the closer is the dangerous one of this scenario. He's or she is going to tell you how terrible it is for your grandchild. If you don't bail them out, it's going to be so bad. And this is what makes grandparents give the money. They want to make sure that they're protecting their grandchild. And so that's what they do. They give the money. Now, I have two cases, recent cases. One, and this was a pretty big loss. It was a grandmother down in Florida who wanted to help her granddaughter. She was in legal trouble, and the closer said that the money that the grandmother was giving would go into a special account, and once everything was cleared up, the grandmother would get the money back. So the first $100,000 went in. The second $100,000, they ended up getting $700,000 from her. It was all of her money. Poof, gone. And the other one was another grandma, local grandma. She was helping her grandson because he had legal trouble, but they put in, they're always tweaking their scams. So they tweaked it and said, there's a non-disclosure on this. So if you say anything to the grandson or the family, the bail will be revoked and that child will go back to jail. So the grandma said, but I'm going to see him at dinner tomorrow night. Can't he just give me a thumbs up? And he said, no. If he gives you a thumbs up, he's going to be put in jail. So she didn't say anything. They got the first $100,000. They got the second $100,000. They got a little bit more. The grandma was out of money, and then poof, the scammer disappeared. The grandson was shocked. He was so sad for his grandmother because his grandma just lost her husband that year, and that was their entire life's savings. And it was just so heartbreaking. But once again, poof, the money's gone. There's no way you're getting it back. And when we talked about those scammers in the beginning that went to jail, it's very rare you're finding these other types of scammers, the grandparent scammers, the romance scammers, the tech scammers, because they're not in America. A lot of them are overseas. And it's just unfortunate that so many grandparents are being scammed like that. Now, we have romance scams, and this one, once again, affects a lot of the people over 60. Right? People are lonely. People want to make friends. The interesting thing about this type of scam is they use special techniques, and they often invest a lot of time. So a romance scam might not be just a month that you met somebody online, but you might have an ongoing relationship with them for a year, for 2 years. There might even be a marriage proposal. And so at that point, they know everything about your life. They know your kids, they know your family, they know where you work, they know your church, right? So they have all this information about you. They might say, and oftentimes they'll be working overseas. Maybe they're on an oil rig, maybe they're with the military, right? So they have all different types of jobs that they're doing. And they'll plan a time to come and finally meet you. So they have their plane ticket. They give you the time that they're going to arrive. They ask you, what's your favorite restaurant? They make a reservation. They say, what hotel should I stay at? They want the best, of course, because they've also told you that they were Ivy League school educated. They have really good jobs, lots of money. So at this point, they have the hotel reservation, they have the dinner reservation, they know what time you're coming in, and then the day when he's arriving, because it's mostly the day he's arriving, all of a sudden you get a panicked text message, phone call, or email. He's been arrested at the airport, they took his passport, he doesn't know what to do, they seized all his money. Can you please just send 100,000, whatever? And then the person who's been in this romance scam for years is like, okay, of course. He's good for the money. So once you do one payment, that activates the next payment, which activates the next payment. And the way scammers work is it keeps going until they've drained your account, and then poof, they're gone. Now, I had a person from Singapore contact us, and she was wondering about this card. Now, she was going to date this person, and she was a young woman, business owner, super successful. And so this was a doctor. He was with the U.S. military. And she's like, yeah, well, I just had this weird feeling. I just want you to check. I'm sure it's fine. And I said, no, that's a scam. He bought that card off the internet. They sell this as a gag gift. And so she missed out on having a romance scam for sure. And another one is people are imposters. So I have a program, Cambridge Business Accelerator Women's Group. I had 80 women coming to it. And then I got an RSVP from him. I said, why is this general going to come to my Women's Business Accelerator group? And so what I do is I take his picture, I capture his picture, and I run it through an AI program that I use, and it pops up. He's all over the internet. Unfortunately, this is a real guy, but so many people are using his picture on dating websites all over. It's just so sad. And same with this guy on the right. He tried to befriend me on Facebook too. So I love my AI program that I love to run. And so if anybody wants to see, I do a 5-minute video about how to identify fake Facebook friends. I'll send you the link if you want to watch it. But this is something that if we're not talking about it, how do we know? And once again, we're the first line of defense. Government impersonation scams. Every single government organization out there has been used in scams. You'll see FEMA being used after natural disasters. You'll see the IRS being used during tax season. Whatever the government agency is, they have been used previously in scams. And this kind of leads me to the part where no matter who's contacting you via the phone, you can't be sure who they really are, right? So we have to do our due diligence and double check and never pay over the phone and understand, once again, those 4 signs that it's a scam, which is pressure, emotion, paying, and keeping it a secret. So here's the one, the jury scam. This is going around the Brunswick County area. Has anybody gotten a call from the jury committee saying that you missed your jury duty and you have to pay? Anybody? Okay, see, we do have somebody here. So when you get that call, this is how it's going to be. They're going to say, this is the jury commission. You missed jury duty. And you'll say, no, I didn't have jury duty. And they'll say, yes, you did. And if you don't pay immediately, we are sending the sheriffs over to arrest you. So give me your credit card information and those numbers on the back and all the rest of your information. So be prepared for that one. And usually how scams work is you'll have something like this, the jury scam, and they'll saturate an area, make a bunch of calls, and then people start talking about it, and then it'll disappear. But it doesn't really disappear. It just moves to another city, another state, and it keeps going around. Same with grandparent scams, same with text scams. Every single scam you can think of, that's what it does, all around the world. And it's very lucrative, once again. Now, this is very interesting. Oftentimes people send me their scams, and I look at them. Oftentimes, it's a panicked call that I get. And both of these were panic calls. This is something, have you ever heard of sextortion? Blackmail? They're in the same area. What they're doing is they're saying they took an inappropriate picture because they put malware on your computer. The malware was able to open up your camera. They videotaped you and took inappropriate pictures of you. And now, since they have the malware in your system, they know all of your contacts. They know where you work. They know everything about you. And so you have to pay. These two, this person right here, they wanted $4,885. They always have these fun numbers, right? This one over here, $1,950. But this one, they're so mean. He adds in, I can't even fathom the humiliation you'll endure. So they want to make you have emotions. They write that way because that's exactly what they want to do, is invoke you to have a feeling of being scared, a fear, of sadness, that you would do anything to make this stop. And of course, they always end with saying, if you pay this, we'll just delete. We'll get rid of that video. That's not true. So that just opens the door. So it's $1,950 today. After you pay that, it's $10,000. You pay that, it's $20,000, it's $30,000. And we had a number of women that were involved with a romance scam here in America with a person over in Europe. And while they were there, they started this 1.5-year romance scam. This person also said that they wanted to marry, so there was a marriage proposal. And this person was in Morocco, and he happened to be like a prince, very well off, very well educated, lots of money. So he wanted to marry these women. But of course, once again, all these women didn't know that he had, 25 different love interests. And by the end, a number of them fell for this. They were planning on getting married. It had been 1.5 years, and the gentleman asked for an inappropriate picture. And the woman said, well, we're getting married, may as well. And so that might be a scammer. It could be. And so at the end, as soon as that picture was taken, and these people had these relationships where they were talking every single day talking. And at this point, they sent that picture, and boom, a second later, $10,000 of this is going to your church, your family, your office. And so the women, a number of these women paid, and they paid again, and then they paid again, and then they had no more money, and then they went to the police station And the police said, I'm sorry, we can't do anything. It's international. The only thing you can do is you can call the American embassy, you can talk with the regional security officer, and that's how I found out about it, because the regional security officer was getting a number of these calls. And unfortunately, the women will never get their money back, and the pictures are out there, unfortunately. So really important to understand when you get any type of letters like this, first of all, 99% of the time, they didn't put any malware on your computer. You think back to that Walmart where all those scammers are working in that building. They send out 1 million of these blanketed out in the United States in some state. There's going to be somebody that responds to this. So it doesn't matter. They send out 1 million. It costs them nothing. They get one response that leads to more. That's what it's about. It's about the money. It's about how many times you can connect with somebody, how many times you can get them to read. They don't care if, more than 50% delete. They don't care. They're just looking for that one person that has no idea that this is a scam, and that's what they're banking on. So technologies and tactics. One of the best things I always say is if you get a call, you don't recognize the number, just let it go to voicemail. You don't need to answer it. Do not answer it. And then also I like people to get muscle memory for slam the scam. Hang up on those scammers. Make sure you hang up on them. So we're going to talk about two tactics that scammers use. The first is the spoof card, and then social engineering. Now the spoof card is an app that anybody can purchase. Anybody can purchase it, from $9 to $99. And it can change your voice. You can change your man's voice to a woman's voice, woman's to a man. It will change your name on the caller ID. It can change your telephone number. It can actually bypass your phone's ring and send it right into your voicemail. There's all sorts of great things that come with this. And unfortunately, it's a scammer's dream. Scammers use this for Michelle Anderson and the scam, the government impersonation scam. They changed the caller ID to the IRS. She thought it was the IRS calling. And unfortunately, the scammers who are earning $37 billion the last 5 years, they have lots of money. They go for the big daddy. They're going for $99. Whatever. They want the best type of scam tool possible. Now, the next thing that we talk about is social engineering. Now, social engineering is really, really important to understand because they're fooling people into doing things for them. The scammers know how to fool you into thinking that there's somebody else so that you will give up your information, whether it's your credit card information, your home phone, your email, your Social Security. They are masters at this social engineering. And you can social engineer people by going on their Facebook, befriending them, finding out what their family situation is, Googling them, finding out what their home address is, Googling them, finding out what their telephone number is. So if people, scammers, decide to scam anybody here, they would just go onto their internet, they would look your name up, or they could randomly find somebody and say, that's the person I'm going to scam. They could take a week, a month, a year developing that person they want to scam. So now they know their grandchildren. Now they know they're going on a trip, a vacation. They have all this information about individual, and then they put the plan out to scam them, whether it's a trip scam, whether it's a grandparent scam, whether it's a tech scam. And this is how they get people to believe them, is with the social engineering. And once again, it relies on human error rather than vulnerabilities in software. It's a lot harder to put malware into your computer. Super simple to do social engineering, that's for sure. So email spoofing. So I recently had another few people connect with me, and they were sharing that an email came from them. It said that there was malware and that they'd taken over the computer. And oftentimes, and the few different people that I talked with, always involved that they needed to pay money so that their information wouldn't be leaked onto the dark web, that it wouldn't be leaked out. So you have to pay money to keep this a secret. And unfortunately, people get fooled by this. But once again, it's just like the spoof card. They can do spoof emails. They can change the email to look like yours. But a really easy way to check this out is go to your sent emails. And if there's not a sent email with that email, then you know they just spoofed the email and got it to you and are trying to fool you and fake you and using social engineering. So now, what can you do to be safer on the internet and on the phone? You have to really do your due diligence. You have to look into scams. You have to, what I like to do is share with people, whatever you're going to do in life, whether you're going to buy a house, buy a car, go on a vacation, just take a little bit of time. Google, house buying scam. You're buying a car buying scam. You're going on vacation, vacation scams. Because it's up to you to understand what the local scams are so that you can be aware, because once again, you're the first line of defense. But these are just some ideas of what you could do. Ask questions, investigate, check your monthly financial statements, have skepticism, shred your documents. Because once again, social engineering, they can actually go into your trash. We've had that happen to people. So it's really important to shred your information if it's going into the trash. Community awareness prevention programs. Never pay anybody if they initiate a call. Never. You don't need to. National Do Not Call Registry. How many of you guys are signed up for this? Okay, not everybody. Well, it's a really great thing to do. Here's the information for you to sign up for it, 1-888-382-1222. But scammers don't abide by this. So all of you that are signed up for it and you're getting so many calls, just realize scammers could care less about rules and regulations. They're going to be calling you all hours of the night. So make sure that you sign up for this, be skeptical, and understand those calls are coming in. And in fact, we have 124 million scam calls going out every single day. And of that, 1,400 are coming in each second. All they want is one person to answer the phone. And so when I say ignore calls, don't respond, I mean that because oftentimes, even if you answer the phone as a scammer and you are telling them they're a scammer, they might sell your number because now you answered that phone. So if I answer a phone, first of all, I don't, they go to my voicemail. But if I'm talking with somebody and this is, something that's happening at the time, I will not say a word, I just hang up. Because with that spoof card, it can say something else. It can say it's from the IRS. And usually if I'm a little bit skeptical, I'll pick it up. If they don't say anything, I hang it. Because if somebody's really calling me, they'll initiate the conversation. Otherwise, I don't want to have anybody know that my phone's a live phone. Because once again, they'll sell that number on the dark web. So now we have a quiz. Now, for you, some of you that were here for the travel safety program, I gave some prizes out. So I'm going to do the same right now. Now, I'm going to ask a question. Is the caller ID always correct? Who wants to answer? Oh, you said no. You get a prize. This is a webcam cover. So nobody can turn on your camera and invade your privacy when you're at home. Put that on. It's very important. Okay. No, scammers use spoof cards. Okay, what's a sign that it's a scam? Anybody? You gonna answer?
One is that if it's a phone call, they don't say anything. And if it's an email, you can check this sent to see if it was sent, and there's usually something wrong.
Fabulous. There we go. There's a lot going on in that, right? We have pressure. They're asking for money. They want you to keep it a secret, right? Let's see. Name a scam you know about. Woo! There we go. Grandparent scam. That's right. That's right. Webcam cover. Put it on. Be safe. Here we go. Then we have, what can you do to avoid a scam? Who has that answer? Somebody way back there. Yes. I'm going to bring this back to you so you can share.
You don't answer the phone if you don't know the number or who it is.
Love it. That's right. Here you go. Excellent, excellent. And take a scam awareness class. And who can you call if you have a question about a scam? Who can you call? Woo, that's right. Okay, I got you covered. Anybody else? Who said that? The police, that's right, absolutely. The police, or you can call the FTC. You can call the Brunswick County Sheriffs. There's a lot of organizations, the FBI, the IC3. We have a lot of places that you can call for help. If anybody ever needs help, they can always reach out to me. And also, make sure you take a picture, or I'll have the Ness send this out. But these are some really important resources for you to have at hand. And one of the things when you set up the protection for your bank accounts, when you set up all your strategies to stay safe, you should also have the list of numbers for your bank and the fraud department. Have them at hand so you don't have to panic, go looking for them, but you'll have them at hand to use with a moment's notice. That's always important. And so thank you so much for coming and listening to the Scam Prevention Program. I have some great literature up here from the FTC. And make sure that you reach out if you have any questions at all, or if you have any organizations that you would like to have Global Secure Resources speak on these community awareness and prevention programs. And always remember that you are the first line of defense. What you know matters. And so I wish you all the best, and I hope the scammers never get you. Thank you again. Yes?
Okay, no names, but I had a friend very recently who was scammed, and $38,000 was taken from her bank account. It was Wells Fargo Bank. Her first hint that something was wrong is her phone stopped working. It said, you can make emergency calls only. It was an iPhone, I guess. And so she went into the phone, Verizon, I guess, up here, and he looked at it and he said, someone's gotten into your account. He could tell. And he said he told her to check her bank account. Sure enough, $38,000 in euros was taken. And of course, she said to the bank, wait, how did you do this? And they said, oh, the information this person had was all your information. We double-checked it against our files, la, la, la. And it was gone. She did work with the bank for many months. She got the money back from the bank, not the scammer. I don't know how. She still doesn't know how they got so much information about her.
That would have definitely been social engineering. There's really an interesting part of the FBI. It's the rat department. And so if you are scammed and you wired money, if you contact the FBI ASAP, they can actually pull or freeze that transaction. And so people have to just remember the rat program with the FBI, and they'll go out in its assets recovery. And so they'll be able to put a freeze and then be able to bring that money back. But if too much time goes by, then we have unfortunate situations. I'm so happy to hear that she got her money back. Are there anybody else that would like to share about a scam that they know about? Because this is also an opportunity for, as a community, to be able to share so that we can be more aware about what's happening. Is there anybody? Oh, wonderful.
Hang on.
The last 3 or 4 days, every day, I get a text message that says, your iOS account has been compromised and you are sending fraudulent emails to your contacts. Please call, ...
Right.
Delete.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up for others to hear, because that is exactly what you want to do. You want to send it off and put it to your scam and report. Scam and report. Another really important thing with the FTC is if you are ever scammed or attempted scam, go ahead and do a report. This is how we get the numbers at the end of the year, how many people have been scammed. So I'm looking forward to 2025 in February, where the FBI's IC3 report will come back out, and I'll be able to find out how many people were scammed in 2024. The sad news is that there's a lot of people that don't report because they're embarrassed. And so those numbers don't get into our $37 billion over the last 5 years. So I think that number is way bigger. Is there anybody else that has a, oh yes, hello.
I get a lot of email that's scams, but the last one I got was, it said that I needed to send, they were taking $13,000 out of my Fidelity account and sending it to so-and-so. I don't have a Fidelity account.
Right.
And but I get a lot of them at the computer where they come on and they want to fix my computer, and then it goes crazy.
Right.
And I just turn it off. And I was going to ask you, like the $13,000, I just either hit spam or delete.
Right.
Is that the proper thing to do?
Usually there's a spam and report. So I always do spam and report so that can go on to the cellular data, and they'll be able to look at that telephone number. And then as a certain, do you ever get the calls and it says possible scam?
Yes.
The reason why it says that is because a number of people have reported that number. And so then it helps elevate the knowledge to us that maybe that call that we're getting is a scam, and it most likely is.
Most of the ones I get are, they're going to send such and such money. I bought a computer, or I bought this or that.
Right.
And like I said, I just scam it. All right.
And we have another question right up here. And what I will say is we're getting to be Black Friday and all the shopping. Now, this is like shark time for scammers. So they are in high alert. They want to try to entice you to click on their link. And so please be very careful. Black Friday, lots of money lost on. And now it's not just one day, but it's a whole period of time, right? So be careful with that.
One of the things that I have received, is this on, can you hear me? Is that I have been, my PayPal account has been charged for certain purchases. And they'll list the purchases, say the purchase. What I've done is called PayPal to check that. And they'll go in the system and they say, no, there are no transactions, nothing is there.
Exactly.
So I have something on that account that does a double check if there is a charge. But I have been getting those notices saying that PayPal has been a charge.
Yes, that's a big scam that's been going around. Also, right now with the holiday seasons, you're going to start getting the text messages that they can't deliver your package. So please just give me your email address, your credit card information, your social security number. We'll take care of that, get you your package.
One other quick question.
Yes.
With all of this going on in the scamming, everybody is Zooming and Zelling and doing all of this different things in terms of paying.
Right.
How secure is that given all of the scams that are transpiring today?
Right. Well, you're only as good as the company itself. So if they have any data breaches, you're in trouble. And for instance, when I worked with the government, there was a data breach, and a lot of our information was sifted out to the dark web. And the government gave us some protection for 10 years. But you know what? The information's out there. Right? So, and I'm sure that had to do with the mortgage payment. They had all my information. I also had somebody else try to start a credit card in my name. And I knew it was fraudulent. It was a Marriott travel card. But once again, I have my fraud alert, so they literally called me, and I said, that's not me. And so we were able to foil that. But the problem is we need to be the first line of defense. If somebody gets a credit card, spends money on our card, and does all this, we're going to be wasting time, effort, and money to try to recoup our information and try to close things down and get money back. That's a waste of time and effort. So that's why it's better to be preventive. Yes?
So I got my information was out there on the web. Someone, data breach. So they offered, 2 years or whatever. And they offered this one through Experian. And they are really good. You can go on your account and they'll tell you what's out on the dark web, whether your passwords have been compromised. And so just a tip, Experian is very good.
Yeah, that's a great tip. And also, I would like to know if any of you have done credit freezes or credit alerts. Okay, so I have both of those on my credit because I know I'm not going to be getting any loans. So why not make it harder for any scammer to get into my accounts and start any type of loans? So I highly suggest that. And for Nest, I have a resource sheet that I'll have to get out to everybody. So you have another question?
Actually, it's not really a question. I just wanted to say that I received one of the emails from a general. They got my name or I don't know, Facebook, I think, is where they got it.
Yeah.
And after a couple of messages, they said, well, the computer system went down and blah, blah, blah. And they wanted to know if I would send a $1,000 gift card. So, which I did not do. But, and the other one is a LifeLock, or for your mortgage. Well, LifeLock is one as well, but there's another one that's about the title of your mortgage that can be taken as well.
Yes.
And you can get security on that, which I do have.
Right, and that's very scary for people. Very important to remember, never pay anybody with gift cards, ever. So just a little story. I was talking with a law enforcement officer up in Massachusetts, and he was called to a home because the husband called saying he needed a missing persons report for his wife. She left the house at 9 a.m., and it was 3 o'clock when this officer was in the house, and he says, she never leaves the house. She never, I don't know what happened. She's gone. So he's taking the report, and then sure enough, she walks in the door. And the husband said, where were you? And she said, oh, I was saving all of our money because these guys, the bank, needed me to go to all these ATMs and pull out money and buy gift cards and send them the numbers so that we could save all of our finances. And the officer said, you know what? That was a $13,000 mistake, $13,000. And that was really quite a shame, as a big lesson that she learned. Another officer I was speaking with, he was driving down the street, and a woman flagged him down and asked, hey, I'm looking for a specific ATM. It's like in some store. And he says, and, she was an elderly woman. She had this envelope in her hand. And he said, may I ask what you're doing? And she was on the phone as well. And the lady says, oh, I'm talking with Bank of America. They needed me to get this money out of one account and put it into another. And he said, excuse me, can I please talk with the person you're talking with? And she said, okay. So she hands the phone to the officer. He puts it on speakerphone, and he says, this is Officer so-and-so. Who am I speaking with? And she says, this is one of the Bank of America reps. And he said, no, you're not. You're a scammer. And the scammer yells, lady, don't listen to the police officer. Take the phone back. Do as you're told. And so this officer said, that's a scam. So she hangs up, and the officer stayed with her and had her call her daughter to explain everything that was happening. She had an envelope with $7,000 that she was on her way to that ATM to put it in and give to the scammer. So these things are happening every single day. We have to be very proactive. But once again, I'm so happy you guys all joined. Come up and ask a question if you need anything. I have some flyers about phone scams, about how to avoid scams, and my information here. And yes. Yes. Right.
Is still good. I just checked the date. So
Right.
I'm wondering how to get rid of it, because beep, 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 Is there,
Right.
what
Once
could I
again,
do?
hard quit your computer, go back. It should be gone. If not, then you should have somebody that you can call that knows about malware if you are thinking that it is malware on your computer. But most likely, it's just a flash up. Yeah. big scams.
You cannot totally get rid of that.
Right,
You can uninstall it, but that will always go.
right. Right, yeah. I always say go to the professionals. So thank you again.